I seem to do more and more of these if there's something relevant to talk about. Otherwise, I'm not strictly this channel or that channel. I'm just whatever channel. Um, don't reward bad behavior. This is something that Pat Contry said in relation to Mike Kennedy, who did the Calico Chameleon, or as we call it, the Calico Scameleon, and then Tommy Tallarico. Yeah, I mean, like I think Mike Kennedy was trying to do something about selling his products, his wares through his magazine, his retro magazine, and Pat was his employee for a while. There were creative differences, and then Pat left. And then Mike Kennedy proceeded to use his Jaguar shells and his fake, was it capture cards to pretend to be real circuit boards and all that shit. But Pat, at the end, when there was tit for tat and Mike got his bullshit called out and everybody saw what he was doing, Pat eventually said, "Don't reward bad behavior because if you encourage bullies, if you encourage scam artists, con men or con women, if you encourage bad behavior, they're going to keep on doing it." So I saw like one of the recent community posts by Review Tech USA, Richard Masucci, who I'll admit told some good stories about his time in retail, his public restroom horror stories, his dating nightmares, stuff like that. His stalker, and they're fun to listen to, right? And those are the days when he would do first-person shooter games, and he would talk, so you didn't have to see his fat ugly face. Um, but now it's like this whole drama of him firing JKB. And look, it's the truth. Like some of these people who defend Review Tech say, "Well, it's their business." It is their business, but it's just such bad morale. I'll never forget when Richard put his son up on the table and his son was dressed up as Mario, and that kid was crying his eyes out. Just to promote Super Mario Odyssey, he put his kid, dressed him up as Mario, and I think his kid was like maybe 3 or 4 years old, no older than 4 years old. Well, that kid's gonna murder your ass, your fat ass, isn't he? Just wait for him to do that to you. When your dad just puts you through some bullshit. So that does happen. Um, among other things, I mean, Big Cheese Gaming, he didn't pay him, I think. And then when the two got on a podcast together, then it was like, okay, no, everything's fine. I paid Big Cheese, and Big Cheese says, yes, yes, Rich paid me. Probably when he knew he was getting his bullshit called out, then he eventually paid Big Cheese Gaming, and then that was it. Because that was the first scandal I heard about him. And then later on, you've had that. Then between Matt Jarbo, who I feel on Matt Jarbo, I agree with Matt Jarbo on one thing, that if you're not going to do a podcast together with Matt Jarbo, who was he had a lot of great content. I think he deleted his channel, and he has the other channel for cinema. Um, you might want to do that privately in DMs and not, or phone calls, not in public on social media, not in a public way. It's like, oh, nice of you to tell me this, Rich, when I didn't know what was going on. So in this way, I felt bad for Matt Jarbo. I don't feel bad for Matt Jarbo for stuff he's done, but for what happened between him and Rich, that was bullshit. Um, Aside from that, the current BS, I mean, that's his problem. But I said this, and somebody said, "Oh yeah, well, why are you watching him?" I said, "I don't watch I said anybody who is supporting you, even after all this stuff, are people with bad morale, and either they're as dumb as you, or they want to see you fail. They want to see you crash and burn. They just want to be entertained now. They don't even give a shit about you." And I think there were two comments. Richard also put up two posts about, or no, he put up one post about the PlayStation falling. PlayStation is dying. Sony's dying. And there were two comments. One said, that Sony's been dying for 10 years. Can we stop with this already? Like, what's going on here? And then, and then another comment said, enough with the clickbaiting. Yeah, I'm paraphrasing these things. It's not verbatim, but I said, you're clickbaiting, you've been saying Sony's been dying for 10 years. It's like Kathleen Kennedy's been fired for 10 years. She's going to be fired for another 5 years. And it was really sad too. I was thinking about, speaking of Kathleen Kennedy, I was looking at Star Wars Theory, who he's more of a reactionary these days. It's not because of his politics. It's because he kind of talks at his fan base, kind of like Tyrone Magnus does. When you're talking, it doesn't matter if you're right or left politics. If you're just talking at your audience, like television, then I just don't give a shit. I don't care. I mean, like you look at Tyrone Magnus. He's got the thing. Okay, he goes. That's Tyrone Magnus's channel. But anyway, Star Wars Theory talked and said that Jake Lloyd, who played the 10-year-old Anakin Skywalker, was having mental. I know he was having mental problems. I didn't know specifically what they were, and part of it was the bullying, and part of it was his own personal war with himself and the people around him, and medications and stuff. Seeing the right therapists, having to check into an institution. That was hard. I thought to myself, Kathleen Kennedy needs to be in these rubber rooms, not Jake Lloyd. Kathleen Kennedy and probably Sweet Baby Inc. and some of these other stupid people. They need to spend some time in there because they're fucked up. Anyway, so if it's not firing people, it's gaslighting your audience, which I would condemn the most. Don't gaslight people. It's just like there's been enough of that. Clickbaits and gaslighting. That's the thing that Mark Bustler, Lord Carnage, classic gamer, had warned about. Like there are people that do that. There are people that would steal his content, and then there are people that would clickbait. Now they can do copyright claims. They can do copyright claims on videos, and they can do copyright claims on commercials, which is. It's a tough world right now. You really have to create more of your own content. That makes YouTube harder. Between Richard and Gerard, who I would go after Gerard first before Richard, because Gerard took people's money, subscribers' money. He went to us. I never gave him my money, but he went to subscribers, the people like us, right, and say, I need your money to support this thing. And the money would just never really go to the cause. He's put his fat ass on the money, shoved it up his ass, and said, "Oh, was that where the money was?" And besides that, I'm getting tired of these. I mean, now you've been seeing them. Okay, you'll see President Biden or you'll see former President Trump asking for money. I don't really care. Look, these two are famous. These two are so famous. They don't need the money. They don't need your money. They don't need the money to go and do these things. If they did it right, people will vote for them or not. But rewarding bad behavior or not, encouraging, giving donations to people to encourage them to do it again and again and again. And it puts me in a lonely spot because I think, what is the point? I'm going to tell you right now that when we're truly forced and alone, if we're not thinking about females, and there's only one female in particular, I really like this female that even when I saw another female's model shoot, and I was really turned on by her. She was sexy in every single way, but she had no lasting appeal. And maybe it's because I'm getting old, but I'll call her, I can say her name is Christy. She's a professional singer, or I don't know how much of a professional singer or model. And she just didn't matter. This other girl matters. Christy does not matter. This other girl matters way more. She had way more appeal. Even if she was not like out there professionally modeling and shooting all the time. Christy does that all the time, but it's like, it doesn't matter. The other girl has more lasting appeal, and that's all that matters. And that's who I think about the most. And I don't, like I said, I don't really care. Like that's who drives me crazy. It's not just about how well you can pose, the curvature of your back and your ass and your legs, and how she just does this shit. Like it's really good, but it just doesn't work. But if we're not thinking about girls, we're thinking about people like us. The thing we try to do is we know who we are, and we find people who are like ourselves. I thought Tom Lakis on the radio was like a lot like me, but Tom Lakis is a rich guy with money, and he can do whatever the fuck he wants. And if he wants to be democratic and support Biden, that's what he wants to do. Um, he doesn't support marriage because he can't, because he had been married 4 times. The more you learn about people, and you look at the geeks and gamers, you look at the young rippas, you look at people on the left, celebrities. I just saw David Letterman and Paul Schaefer do a short video recently. I thought that was great. Hadn't seen those guys together in a while. They retired in 2015. It was great. But for the YouTubers or Twitch streamers, we try to find people like ourselves or have an aspect of our personality and say, I want to be like that person right there. That's what makes us not alone. And I'm here to say that it's okay to like the things that you like, and it's okay to not like the things you don't like. Um, a person like me or anybody, even somebody famous, can only tell you what these things mostly are from an educated point of view. And you can choose to smoke, you can choose to drink. I don't personally. Or you can choose to shoot guns. I don't personally shoot guns. But we try to find people like ourselves. And when they disappoint us or when they do something that we don't like, we want to get up in their business, but we can't. But what I try to do ultimately is listening to different talking heads, because there really isn't that one person. Now, for the exception, like with Kali UK, whenever he does a live stream, I almost immediately drop everything unless I'm busy at work, which I'm not. But when I was busy at work, I always had, even when I was working at Universal Studios, I always found the time to talk to him or see his live stream. So I'll drop everything for him because he doesn't live stream that often. Everybody else, I catch it later. I'll catch other people later. So I think it's just, when you reward bad behavior, you're telling that person, I approve of the bullshit you do. When you ignore them, then they start to figure out, oh yeah, this thing that I was doing, yeah, that wasn't cool, was it? So I'm here to say you can be who you are, and I will teach you things, and I can teach you how to do certain things based on my experience. But you can like things that I don't like, and I can like things you don't like. I like Pixels with Adam Sandler. Doesn't mean you have to. I just reviewed Conan the Barbarian last night, and I thought it was a great movie. It may not be for those people who like kids' movies, which was Masters of the Universe, which I did like some of the costumes, but I just couldn't, I cannot replace Conan with that. I don't even know about Conan the Destroyer. I really have to watch Conan. I've seen a little bit, and it's more fantastic, I think, than the first one. The first one was more brutal. That one's a little more softer, I think, the sequel. So we'll see. But yeah, when it comes to finding people like ourselves, and even with females, you have to find that one female that drives you fucking crazy. And hopefully it works out. But it's easy to get swayed by sexuality. When you look at those Instagram models and Twitch streamers and girls who just want, they got their push-up bra on, they may talk about politics, or they may talk about games or whatever. And you just gotta be, cautious about that kind of stuff. There was one girl who just sat there with her fake boobs hanging out, just sat there and just ate a cracker or two. That's all she did. And it's like, you gotta figure, at some point you think to yourself, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you doing with your life? That you're liking these girls that are like 1,000 miles away from you, and they put on a performance. I'm putting on a performance now. The truth is, I have my boxes of packing to do. I work on my stories. Um, Making money on YouTube is hard, but I think it's harder. It's harder to go back to the jobs that I used to work in. Like everything's fine. That's even harder. So that's all I gotta say. Um, it's like I'm telling you, don't reward bad people. Don't encourage them to do more bad things, and maybe they'll think twice. Um, and if it's like I said, it's not the click. If it's not firing somebody, it's the clickbaiting. It's making drama. I don't need to do that here, but that's what True Force Loneliness is for. Um, hopefully you find somebody important for you. Hopefully it all works out for every one of us.